Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are putting a pin firmly in the map of a destination that's often called, and I think rightly so, Europe's last true hidden gem. We're talking about Albania.
We are. It's a country that's, really emerging from decades of deliberate isolation. And the material we pulled together for you today is, it's a spectacular shortcut. It's not the usual tourist trail.
Right.
We've distilled 10 really singular experiences, things that blend these rugged mountains, the famous turquoise shores, and a history that's just so layered with Ottoman, Byzantine, and of course, communist influences.
And our mission today is to go a little deeper than just a list of attractions. We want to get to the soul-stirring stuff that locals cherish.
Exactly.
To give you a real shortcut to understanding this raw, unpolished adventure destination, and critically without the crushing crowds you'd find in, say, Greece or Croatia right next door.
And if you're looking for an experience that feels truly distinct, like stepping into a living postcard that hasn't been overly filtered or managed, well, this is for you. We're combining history you can literally touch with some really raw, untamed nature.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think we should start with that historical canvas. Because in Albania, history it isn't tucked away in a museum. It's built right into the hillsides. It defines the whole landscape.
It absolutely does. And what's immediately fascinating is the architectural and historical depth you find in the UNESCO-listed cities. We're talking about Berat and Gjirokastër.
Ah, the cities of 1,000 windows, right?
That's the nickname.
Yeah.
And it's such a perfect visual. You're looking at these slate-roofed Ottoman mansions that, because the terrain is so steep, they almost look like they're cascading down the slopes.
Just one on top of the other?
Precisely. If you take Berat, for example, you can wander through these whitewashed alleys, climb up to a hilltop castle, and people still live there. It feels incredibly preserved, almost frozen in time. And then there's Gjirokastër. Architecturally similar, but it has a much heavier, a different historical footprint.
It does. I mean, we know it's the birthplace of the dictator Enver Hoxha, but the sources point to something even older, something that reveals more about the country's character. The Kuleta.
The tower houses.
Yeah.
So what exactly were these? They weren't just big homes, were they?
Oh, much more than that. Think of them as, well, vertical fortresses. They were these fortified stone homes, and the ethnological museums inside them give you this really visceral look at traditional Albanian life.
The life that existed right up until the mid-20th century.
Right. And these towers, they symbolize this deep resilience. They were necessary defenses during periods of instability, and even during these long-running blood feuds. A family might have to literally shelter vertically for months at a time.
Wow.
So they tell a story of self-reliance, of a community structure that existed long before the communist regime tried to erase all of it. And speaking of that paranoid, isolating, and, very recent past, you absolutely cannot talk about the Albanian landscape without confronting the remnants of that era. They dot the land in the most surreal way.
We are, of course, talking about the bunkers, the infamous bunkers. And the sheer scale it's genuinely hard to wrap your head around. We're talking over 173,000 of them.
173,000. That number is it's almost beyond comprehension.
It is. Concrete, mushroom-shaped bunkers scattered across every imaginable piece of land.
And they were built by Hoxha's regime to fend off, what? Imaginary invasion?
Pretty much. Invasions from, well, basically everyone. NATO, the Soviets, even China at one point. Invasions that, of course, never materialize. It's this dark, very serious piece of history. But their presence today just feels incredibly bizarre.
It's like the whole country is an unintentional post-apocalyptic sculpture park. You see them everywhere, in fields, on beaches.
Half buried in people's backyards. Which raises a really practical question for a traveler. If there are that many of these things, what are people doing with them? Are they just there?
That's a great question. Are they just a hazard?
Well, they are an environmental problem, for sure. They're hard to remove. But the Albanian spirit has found some really creative solutions. They function as this quirky, haunting, drive-by history lesson.
But they're also being repurposed.
Exactly. Some are now storage sheds or little beach cabanas. I've even seen pictures of them turned into art studios or tiny, quirky bars. It's this incredibly resourceful and, frankly, kind of humorous way of dealing with a national symbol of paranoia.
It's a very specific kind of national recycling. Okay, moving from that history of isolation, let's go vertical. Let's head north. The north of the country offers this profound solitude and some of the most raw, untouched alpine nature in Europe.
The accursed mountains. The Albanian Alps.
Sounds intense.
And it is. Yeah. If you are someone who really seeks out true wilderness hiking, this is where you need to go. We're talking about the Faith Valbona Trail. It's described as an iconic 2-day trekking rite of passage.
And the sources compare it to the Dolomites in Italy, but with a kicker that I think every seasoned traveler will appreciate: zero permit hassles.
That phrase, zero permit hassles, it's code. It means incredible freedom, but it also means less formal infrastructure. You have to rely more on your own judgment and local knowledge.
So it's not a conga line of tourists on a paved path.
Not at all. It's raw nature.
Right.
And the reward for that 2-day trek is just spectacular scenery. You cross lush valleys, alpine meadows, all surrounded by these towering peaks. But the most memorable part, it's the accommodation.
You stay in traditional stone guest houses, right?
Yeah, run by shepherd families who've lived there for generations. Imagine that immersion, waking up not to an alarm, but to the sound of goat bells.
And the smell of fresh byrek, that flaky cheese pastry coming out of a wood stove. I mean, that is peak authenticity right there.
It really is. And even if you don't do the full trek, the Fifth Valley itself has these immediate payoffs. Like you can go chasing waterfalls.
A ruinous waterfall.
Definitely worth the hike. It's this gorgeous 25-meter cascade that tumbles into an emerald pool. Now, the water is, well, it's ice melt. So swimming is bracing, to be the least.
Quick dip, then.
A very quick dip. But it's an incredible sight. And right nearby, you find that blend again. There's a fascinating historical structure called the Lock-In Tower.
That's the medieval feud refuge we mentioned earlier. It's amazing how you can step from this incredible natural site right into a physical relic of, well, traditional conflict resolution.
It just highlights how isolated these northern villages were. They had to develop their own strict, ancient codes of conduct.
Wow.
You can still feel that deep history in the stones.
Okay.
Okay, so let's shift gears completely. We've done the cities, the high peaks. Let's move to the hydrological features that really define the South.
The water-based adventures. This is where we get into what the sources call karst magic, especially with the blue eye or Syriac culture.
Yeah, and maybe we should just quickly clarify what karst means. When we say karst, we're talking about a landscape formed when soluble rocks like limestone dissolve. It creates sinkholes, caves, and crucially for Albania, these huge underground river systems.
So the geology itself is creating the spectacle.
Exactly. And the blue eye is the star of the show. It's a natural phenomenon that genuinely looks like a portal to another world. It's this deep electric blue spring bubbling up from a massive underground cave.
The clarity of the water looks unreal, but the temperature detail stood out to me. It stays a constant, shocking 10 degrees Celsius.
That's 50 Fahrenheit, yeah. The warnings are pretty clear. Swimming is mesmerizing, but unforgivingly cold.
So again, a very brief dip.
The briefest of dips. It's the sheer force of nature. Local legend, of course, is more romantic. They call the eye of a divine beast. But the reality is, the depth is still unmeasured. Divers have tried to explore it, but the force of the water pushing up is just too powerful.
Wow, that adds a real layer of mystery to the beauty. Now, for those who prefer their water adventures a bit more, adrenaline-fueled, we have the Osumi Canyon.
This is often called Albania's Grand Canyon, and for good reason. It's this massive gorge slicing through red rock walls that can be up to 800 meters deep. It's perfect for seasonal rafting.
So you can raft or kayak the turquoise Osum River, spot eagles overhead, and it sounds like pure, unspoiled adventure without the commercial overload you might find elsewhere.
Absolutely. And moving from that adrenaline to something more serene, we have Lake Ohrid.
A UNESCO World Heritage Site shared with North Macedonia, one of Europe's oldest and deepest lakes.
Right. But exploring it from the Albanian side, near Pogradec, offers this distinctly quiet experience. You can paddle past Byzantine basilica ruins, spot floating churches, and see endemic fish species you won't find anywhere else on Earth.
It's a unique blend of rare biodiversity and forgotten history.
It really is.
No.
Let's make a smooth transition from ancient deep water to immediate coastal bounty. Because while you're near the Riviera, you have to talk about the food experience around Semil.
And this is more than just a nice seaside dinner.
Oh, absolutely. This is the Semil Mussel Boat Tour. It's a very specific hands-on adventure. You get on a traditional wooden boat and head out to these huge underwater mussel farms near the Butrint ruins.
So you're basically helping to harvest your own dinner.
Precisely. You watch the farmers pull up nets loaded with these plump Adriatic mussels straight from the icy water. And then you feast on them, steamed or grilled with garlic and lemon. Right there. It is the definition of hyper-local dining.
That sounds like the kind of meal that defines an entire trip. But Albania isn't just about landscape and sea, it's also about local traditions and wellness. Let's head inland again and talk about a very necessary cultural component, Rocky.
You got it. And to experience that, you head to Corsi, which is celebrated as Albania's cradle of culture. Here, tradition and socializing often come in a shot glass.
So how does raki fit into daily life? Is it just a drink, or is it more?
It's foundational to hospitality. Raki, this potent fruit brandy, usually grape or mulberry, is offered to guests pretty much the moment they arrive, no matter the time of day. Refusing it is difficult.
I can imagine.
And in Corset, you can visit a 200-year-old brewery bar to sample flavored varieties, pair it with the local beer, and of course have some more fresh Byrek to soak it all up.
A perfect afternoon, and to balance that out, the town has this massive dose of artistic depth right nearby.
Yes, classic Albania juxtaposition. Right there you have the National Museum of Medieval Art, home to over 7,000 Orthodox icons. It's this critical counterpoint to all the Ottoman and Islamic architecture you see elsewhere.
So after all that trekking, high-altitude air, and maybe a little too much Rocky, you're going to need to relax.
You are. And Albania provides this beautiful, wilder, and wallet-friendly alternative to something like Iceland's Blue Lagoon. We're talking about Benja's Thermal Springs.
Located in the VOC Valley, which is Europe's first wild river national park.
And that's key. This experience is entirely natural, undeveloped, and completely free. You have these sulfur-rich hot springs cascading over rocky terraces right under an old Ottoman stone bridge.
So it's not a developed spa resort at all.
Not in the slightest. You just pick a pool with a temperature you like and relax. It's pure, raw hydrotherapy surrounded by olive groves and canyons. The locals swear by it.
It sounds perfect. So when you look at all these different experiences, stone cities, freezing springs, sulfur pools, what ties it all together for the traveler?
I think it's the sheer diversity packed into a small area. But fundamentally, it's the accessibility and the value. Albania just hasn't been monetized to the same degree as its neighbors.
And that welcoming spirit seems to be a running theme. The sources mention genuine affordability, like finding great places to stay for 30 to 50 euro a night. But more than that, it's the warmth of the locals.
That's the real hidden gem. People consistently report being spontaneously invited in for coffee or a shot of raki. You feel less like a tourist and more like a guest in someone's home.
So the core choice for you, the traveler, becomes a really good problem to have. Do you go south for the Riviera, the muscle boats, and the karst magic of the Blue Eye?
Or do you head north for those rugged mountain epics on the Thief Valbona Trail and the solitude of the tower houses? Albania really does give you both. We've covered everything from cities of 1,000 windows to 173,000 concrete mushrooms.
It's a country that demands flexibility and rewards exploration.
It really is.
Regardless of which way you point your compass, this is a country that rewires your travel expectations. You'll need layers, you'll need good boots for those peaks, and you absolutely need an open heart.
We've laid out 10 really singular experiences for you today. So the final question we'll leave you with to help you start planning is this. What aspect of this layered country is pulling you most? The bunkers or the beaches?
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.